Hopefully we shared it around.
Hi, and welcome to another week of Steelers Sanctuary. It is not just any week of Steelers Sanctuary, though. It is the one we've been waiting for a very, very long time. It is Ravens week, and we are very, very excited. And there is a ton to get to, and we could honestly probably spend 7 hours talking about the Steelers and Ravens. But we'll jump in really quick to talk about the injuries because there was some positive news and some not so positive news. They opened up the 21 day window for Corey Trice to come back, and he had his first practice in a bit today. We have Nate Herbig having a full practice. Najee was back to full practice after getting his typical Wednesday off, which thank you, Bob, getting that info. Najee has apparently had Wednesdays off consistently, so that Wednesday off was not a concern for anyone who was wondering. Dante Jackson was limited, but they expect him to play with a hamstring. The mild concern is that Jaylen Warren didn't practice with a back injury. Does that concern you guys at all right off the bat?
He just can't seem to catch a break this year, right? It's always something, some injury, some. Just when he's coming off is probably his best game, right? Last Sunday, both rushing and passing yards. It was probably his best day.
I'm really happy for Arthur Smith. His wet dream comes true. He gets to use Cordell Patterson half the game. So I'm just happy for him. Honestly, I know that's something he loves to do. But as far as Jaylen goes, yeah, it really sucks, to not have him if we don't.
It just a conspiracy theory in me is thinking, he fumbled near the goal line. It's not the first time Jalen's ever fumbled.
No.
If it's once a season and it doesn't cost us a game, okay, we can all kind of live with that. But I wonder if there's any chance that it's a little message. Oh, you're a little stiff. You could go. Nah, stand on the sideline. You'll be fine.
I certainly hope it's not that. Jaylen, even like an 80% or 70% or mildly stiff Jaylen Warren is a pass protection beast. Even if he doesn't run the ball at all in the game, we simply can't trust our edge guys. I was on the Total Apex podcast before, and they were asking me why Pat Fryermuth hasn't been a fantasy factor this year. And I'm like, well, it's a couple of reasons. I'm like, a big reason is we don't have the edge protection on the offensive line to be able to sacrifice giving up the kind of pass protection that him and Darnell Washington offer. We have to keep guys inconsistently, so we don't have that. And so, well, how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's part of it. Maybe it's the quarterback thing too, the changing quarterbacks. Maybe Russell Wilson's got to get used to him a little bit more. I think he was doing all right with Justin Fields, right? He had a couple good games there. I'm not too worried about Pat Fryermuth. He'll be fine.
Well, speaking of the changing quarterback, a big thing that came out that I'm wondering how many of us are going to roll our eyes right out of the screen. Apparently, people want to pay Russell Wilson a lot of money. 3 years, $45 million is apparently the contract that what was it, Pony? Was it Andrew Filipponi who tweeted that they wanted to do? Well, of course it came from Pony. If that's going to come from anybody, it's going to come from Pony. But I don't. That right off the bat makes me roll my eyes and makes me a little upset that if it's being considered at all seriousness, that would make me upset. How do you guys feel about Russell Wilson getting paid that much money considering his age?
If they make the playoffs, that's going to be the going rate. I hate to. Me and Jake talked about it earlier in the season. If he wins a playoff game, or even just gets into the playoffs, there's dumb teams out there. There are dumb teams that a quarterback needy that will offer him in that area, and it's going to be up to the Steelers to match or decide to part ways.
Well, he's on pace to have a big season, to be honest with you. I think I saw somewhere he's on pace for like 26 plus touchdowns and only like 4 to 6 interceptions. He's doing really, his passer rating is one of the top ones since he started in week 7. I mean, if he keeps
is that allowed for a skillless quarterback?
I know.
Allowed to put up numbers like that.
I don't, if he keeps this up, I don't know how they can deny it that he's worth that price tag, to be honest.
Well, the real question becomes, okay, he's 35, 30, and he's going to be 36. Are we getting the last best year? And if we're getting
That's what I'm saying.
if we're getting the last best year, maybe if you went, because we know what starting quarterbacks are worth. Dak Prescott got paid $60 million. If you get Russell Wilson for 45, according to the marketplace, you stole him. So if you could get him to go maybe 2 for 85, 90, hey, maybe you do it, but you're running the risk of, one of the big things everybody always criticizes the Steelers for is, you held on to Ben too long. You held on to Ben too long. If we hold on to Russell going into 36, 37, Ben tore his arm up at 37. So, yeah, 2 years, maybe I get it, but this goes back to the Justin Fields versus Russell Wilson argument. Now, look, there's no question Russell has been awesome. But kind of like, Lamar gets criticized, we got to see it in the playoffs, because if the Steelers come out flat and we get down 28-0 because there was a turnover and the defense screws the pooch, then what are we paying Russell Wilson that kind of money for? Let's re-sign Justin Fields. If he wins, if we go to the AFC Championship game, I don't think we can avoid giving him a 2 year. Yeah, I don't think we can avoid giving him 2, maybe 3 years. The question is, what's he gonna want?
Yeah, and
if he makes the AFC Championship game, we're in trouble. They're going to have to pay him.
And it's a question about alternatives. So, David, if you say, I don't like that price of Russell Wilson, what's the alternative? If you say Russell Wilson gets to walk, he's going to another team for what they want to pay him, are you comfortable with Justin Fields as the alternative? Or are you looking at the draft? Are we suddenly back in the lurch of where we were before if we decide to let Russell Wilson walk?
I like Justin Fields, the age. I would be okay if they went and tried to sign him long term. That'd be fine. Because guess what? And I talked about this. It's good that he's not playing that much now because it lowers that price. I've said that. I have. And Russell Wilson clearly being the better quarterback also helps us with that price tag for Justin. So we could get him at a way better deal and have him for a long time, and maybe he does figure it out completely, and boom, now you strike gold, if you will. So I'm okay with that.
Personally, I think Fields is going to fetch more on the open market. I know the idea is, he didn't play as much. He had a perfect 6-game audition. Perfect. He was 4-2. He showed growth. He showed he didn't turn the ball over. He needs to work on his touch a little bit. But now if he doesn't play for the rest of the year, he has got a perfect body of work to go to a team like Carolina or some of these other ones who are going to be turning over a coaching staff. Maybe Ben Johnson ends up in Carolina, and he brings Justin Fields along with him. Now all of a sudden, hey, if I'm in the market for a quarterback, I want to pay the 25-year-old $35-40 million versus the 35-year-old $45-50 million.
Go for it.
It's real tough for me. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do after this season. You just brought up the point, Bob. It's like, do you pay the 25-year-old quarterback who we don't know if he's good or not? He was okay. We see the stark difference with Russell Wilson and now of how good it can be. Or do you pay the guy that's 35 who's going to want $45-50 million? I guess it all comes down to, like every other contract, how much guaranteed money. How much of that you can pay him $80 million a year if only the life of the contract is only $40 million guaranteed, then it doesn't really matter. You can cut him at any time. But if he wants a lot of that guaranteed, oof.
Yeah, Sam, look, I know, David, you're going to say something. Let me just jump in too. It would be ideal. It ain't going to happen.
Thank you. Bob read my mind. I was like, I would love for that to happen, but I'd also love to win $5 million. It's just not going to happen. So
yeah, they're playing nice this year. They're not going to be playing nice. They're not going for it again next year. There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jennifer's got a good follow-up here. Would he want to just go anywhere? I do think Russ would be careful, but money talks. I mean, there's no indication. Yes, he's got Sierra money. Yes, he's made a ton of money. Would he be smart to want to stay in Pittsburgh for less and charge other teams a premium? Yes, but if a team like, let's say the Giants, okay, we're moving on from Danny Dimes, which they can do. Let's say they look at Russell Wilson and say, you know what, man? 2 years, $120 million. Come on. We got to compete with Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott, and we think we got the team to do it. I don't think that's true, but, that's nothing to the Giants. They got tons of money under the salary cap. So I think if it was the right thing and a guy like Dable, who's such a good offensive coach, yeah, he'll go there. But is he going to risk going to Nathaniel Hackett? Remember, he was traded. He didn't sign with Denver. He was traded to Denver.
Yeah,
that's good. Now another quick thing that we're going to dig into a little bit more later on, but I'm curious how you guys think, because Mike Tomlin doesn't normally come straight out and diss people. But he kind of did this week. He took a shot at Deontay Johnson. What do you guys think about this sassy Mike Tomlin simply saying that, hasn't really thought about Deontay Johnson as a Raven?
I'm a degenerate.
I do
Dave,
love his passive.
there you go.
I love his passive aggressiveness with this. He hasn't really done much. So I'm really worried about these other guys. And it's just like, dude, you try to make it out like you're not dissing him, but that's what you're doing. You're saying that guy hasn't done jack shit since he left Pittsburgh, so you're not that worried about him, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's about as far as you'll see Mike Tomlin go to criticize another player. Like that was gigantic, because he usually won't do that. But he basically said Deontay Johnson's inconsequential. He's not even part of, we haven't thought about him for a minute. It's basically, summarizing what he said. It's clear Deontay Johnson was a pain in their ass last year. And it's clear they're glad he's gone.
Yep.
And maybe to the point where he's glad to take a shot at him in the press conference too. That was wild. That was wild. That's out of character for Tomlin.
2 years ago, I was defending Deontay Johnson's signing. I thought it was the smartest thing to do. Our number one wide receiver. Then George Pickens kind of comes along, and I fell in love with George Pickens and fell way out of love with Deontay Johnson. You got to wonder, though. I mean, he doesn't play very many snaps his first week in Baltimore, and everybody stole him. He'll do better. But then he played even less last week. He falls down. Lamar looks like he's pissed at him, and he doesn't come back on the field. I almost think it's a little gamesmanship from Tomlin to say, hey, Harbaugh, you're Mr. Genius. You like to show us where we're wrong. Let's get Deontay Johnson out there. Let's have him in the pattern. Let's have him running things. If nothing else, maybe it'll be like Ertz last week. You get the first down, but then you give us back the first down.
That's a good
He's
point.
a talented guy.
Let's say Deontay Johnson does play for some reason a consistent amount. You one in our secondary that you think he's a mismatch against, or you think our guys, even Beanie Bishop, would pretty much have him tied up with what we know about what he does?
If he's right and his mind is on right, he's going to be tough. He's a tough cover. He's a good player. He's just a knucklehead sometimes. Right. I mean, he wore out his welcome here. He wore out his welcome in Carolina. And then we heard little rumblings as soon as he got to Baltimore. He was, posting stuff on social media. It's all if Deontay Johnson wants to play. Because if his head's on right and he wants to play, he's trouble. Is he at that state of mind? It doesn't seem like it.
That's the key word, state of mind. Go for it, Bob.
Let's be honest. What we're all afraid of is when he wears out his welcome in Baltimore, he's going to end up in Kansas City. And
it's the perfect place for him. It's the perfect place for him.
It is.
What do we manifest?
And let's be honest.
For some reason, he would end up doing well there.
His first few years in this league, say what you want. Ben was not the same guy the last couple of years. And then he went through Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and all that stuff. So he's never really had a quarterback to really.
He's never had an elite or top quarterback ever.
No.
So
I don't think anybody questions his talent. I mean,
the
obviously,
talent is there.
No, it's all the boneheaded stuff he does. He's just a bonehead.
There it is.
Does stupid shit.
It's like
that's
Chase
just the way
Claypool.
it is.
In the biggest moments, I honestly feel like Deontay Johnson tried to be Antonio Brown too. Because Antonio Brown was a different kind of player where he could cut across the field. He could find that open space. He had this natural vision. Deontay Johnson tries to cut back and do all this stuff at the most inopportune times. The amount of first downs he lost for us, we should charge him some kind of premium
Yeah.
just for it's ridiculous.
He was definitely in his own head
Oh,
because he didn't get a lot of receptions, and when he did get them, he was trying to do too much and did a lot of dumb things. But
I will say this though, we did go to a new team, and it's going to take a little bit. I mean, what's the average it takes wide receivers to really get comfortable with a new team's playbook?
Mike Williams only took one play.
Right. Right. I get it, but that's the exception, not the rule. I'm just saying, realistically, how long does it really take? I'm hoping it takes 6-7 games because I don't want it to be the third game and then he just goes out and balls out and we look like idiots. Think
about the situation he went to. That team's a wagon. It's rolling. They didn't need a wide receiver. They don't need Deontay Johnson.
It was a luxury pick, you're saying, basically.
Yeah, but there's no room for him on it. And they probably don't want – the offensive guys don't want to mess up, their role. So I'm sure they're not, overly excited to put a new player in there.
Quite a lot.
That's actually a good point, Jennifer.
Quite a lot.
I know he went an entire year, right? He didn't score for an entire year.
A little over a year, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, and just to jump back to Gary, my friend, could I interest you in Mike Wallace?
I was about to say.
How about Yancey?
Mike Wallace, they're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yancey also had a very nice little run in Tennessee once he left the Steelers. It's not unheard of for the Steelers receivers.
Yeah, I'll say this. There's not a lot. There's not a lot.
Yeah, it normally doesn't work out well if you decide to leave Pittsburgh again. So now Plaxico Burress won the Super Bowl, so it's kind of hard to say
another
that Emmanuel Sanders is the most successful. So I mean, and Plaxico was still Plaxico, and I still regret losing him to the Giants.
I would argue Plaxico is the best ex Steeler receiver. I had the best ex Steeler receiver.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
That's a good point. Well,
Antonio Holmes, until he got hurt, had a couple of nice seasons before he just
he had a couple with the Jets.
He went to the Jets, right? Yeah, he went to the Jets.
He had a couple with the Jets. He got hurt, like you said.
If you're a receiver, then you can have good. But there's not. Alan Faneca went to the Jets too, I remember, and he did okay, but that was near the end. But pretty much, if you leave the Steelers and it doesn't end well, there's not that many players that really excel outside of that. I don't know what that
no one goes on to be a Hall of Famer, that's for sure.
Exactly, but we're going to jump out of the kind of random topics we wanted to cover and into the meat and potatoes of it because it is Ravens week. And Bob, I'm going to play this wonderful, beautiful clip that we have ready because it is Ravens week.
From hell's heart, I stab at thee. For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee.
What does that sum up Ravens week?
It really does. Now, right off the top, before we get into the specifics of offense and defense, when me and Bob jumped into the prep thing, he brought up a good point that this big discussion in Pittsburgh this week is that this Ravens-Steelers rivalry has lost the oomph, lost the fire, lost that the people in Pittsburgh it doesn't feel the same. Now, I disagree. Bob said he disagrees as well. Dave, how do you guys feel about that? David, you can kick us off. Is this Steelers-Ravens rivalry still hold that for you?
Not as much as it did back in the day.
Ooh, okay.
Why? I don't know. It's not just Steelers Ravens. It's just the NFL in general. All these kids are just they're just way nicer to each other, and there's no. I'm trying not to be too mean here, but you get what I'm saying. They don't have that. It's just weird. They're doing podcasts together now. Apparently that happened. Did you guys hear about this?
Yeah, I saw Trey Essex was kind of weird about that.
I'm like, when would that ever happen? Just to use that as an example.
Ray Lewis on a Steeler podcast the week leading up to that.
Guys, to me, it's. Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's Ravens week. Hell yeah, but it's not it was whenever Hines Ward was around and Ray Lewis. I mean, that was dude, it's time for fucking war. Let's go. You knew they were going to. And that's the other thing, too. The NFL has kind of ruined it a little bit because you can't be as physical as you used to be. They used to go out there and literally fucking kill each other. And now if you so much as, don't put a pillow out for Lamar Jackson to lay him down on, then throw a flag. Like it's different. That's the other part of it too. Is just the rules have changed and made it a softer game as well. So that's why, to me, just between the players just being a lot more, I don't even know the words to use for this, but they're just not like it used to be. And in the NFL, the rules for me.
Before we jump to Bob, finding out about why he thinks Ray Lewis would be on a podcast, I want to hear from Dave really quick on what does this Steelers Ravens rivalry still hold for you?
It's still almost as good as ever for me. I know it's not as physical as it used to be, but maybe it's because we haven't been good in 3 or 4 years. We've kind of lost the luster. It hasn't meant much, but this means a lot. This is 2 first place teams, practically tied going at it. I couldn't be more excited. I don't know what other people are talking about. This is.
Well, it's not that I'm not excited. I'm excited.
No, I mean I know, but
it's not going.
I still have a similar feeling to those old games. Maybe not quite as much, like you said, because it's not as intense, but still.
Willis McGahee and Ryan Clark would like to have a word.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, well,
Alrighty then.
Really quick before we jump off the subject, Bob, I'm curious. Is it just because it was a different time then? Do you think that if it would have been now, it'd be
first of all,
been on a podcast?
The point I heard today on 93.7 was they didn't have podcasts then, so it's hard to say who would and wouldn't have done it. Could we imagine Jack Lambert jumping on a Ravens podcast? Or, well, let's be honest. One of the reasons I really hate the Ravens is because they're the Browns. They're the real Browns. I hate the Browns. Expansion team in Cleveland. They moved to the real Browns are in Baltimore. I don't like Baltimore. I didn't like Cleveland. There has always been a real disdain, at least as far as I'm concerned, going back to the 70s for this team. I do not like them. I've never liked them. The fact that it became physical and competitive, hey, young Steeler fans, I'm glad you respect them. I hate them. I want to see. I remember when they slammed Bradshaw to the ground and cost us a 3rd Super Bowl. I mean, I do not like them. Never liked them at all. Now, that being said, why do I say Ray Lewis would be on a podcast? Because the Ravens are soft. I said it. Ray Lewis was soft. Ed Reed was soft. They were afraid of Hines Ward. They got the rules.
They were soft, Bob.
Yes, they were soft.
Ray Lewis is soft.
Ray Lewis is soft.
Fuck yeah, Bob.
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah. This right now. See, I'm ready. I am.
Who pissed in your Cheerios this morning? Jesus Christ,
dude! You just recharged me up.
He's going to be going missing this week. We're going to get a bunch of cutout magazine letters from Ed Reed and Ray Lewis.
Dude, I'm ready to run through a fucking wall right now. Bob's got me fucking amped now. I'm just like, oh my gosh, yes.
50 years I appreciate the compliment, John. I appreciate the compliment, and I do like donuts.
Oh, and a shout out to my mother. Just for everyone, this is my mother. She's a nurse, cardiac nurse, COVID nurse. She's coming at this from a medical perspective. So you have to take that with a grain of salt.
I understand, ma'am. I understand. I get it.
There you go.
It's so much safer now. I'm so happy.
See, I don't hate the Ravens like you do, Bob. It's a little different. There's a little bit of a respect for them because they're always been pretty good. Like I hate the Browns and Bengals, but I hate the Ravens. Don't get me wrong.
After that, you're asking Bob.
It's a different kind of hate.
Well, I'll tell you why. Especially those Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Haloti Ngata when they broke Ben's nose, because they whined. That's what I hated about them. They were whine. Look, Steelers didn't whine. James Harrison didn't whine. Hines Ward didn't whine. They just went out and kicked their ass. And you know what? But when Ed Reed got hit a little too hard, oh, it's dirty. It's dirty. Hey, have you seen what you did to Ben's face? Yeah, it ain't dirty. I mean, that's why I do think they would end up they'd be on podcasts crying about how, the Steelers are too physical and they're too this. Yeah, they used to beat the hell out of each other when it was allowed. But I always thought the Ravens were crybabies.
Bob's going to end up on a milk carton. 100%.
I think we need a little football
We're gonna
therapy
see
from
Bob
Bob.
again.
He's got some unresolved
I
issues
just-
about the Ravens over there.
I just, for me, Bob, I think that time frame is the golden years of this rivalry. I
It
mean,
is.
I agree with
just-
that. I agree
I'll
with
agree
that.
with
They
it. Yep.
just beat the living hell out of each other, and I loved
there was-
it.
And there
you
was
know.
nothing like the peak of football to me was that AFC Championship game. Troy Polamalu finishing it off in the snow. I can't think of a better singular football game than things like and that. So, but I do feel like this game has the potential to bring some of that back for us. We both are at a place where we really, really want to win, even if we can't hit each other as hard as we used to. I do think that chippiness is going to be there, or at least I hope. I want some pregame squabbles. I want people messing with each other. I want someone standing on a logo. I want someone to mess with these. And there you go. Yeah, anytime you do something with the towel. But really, really quick, we'll jump into the game preview itself now, and we'll start out with what to me is the most concerning thing going into that game. As much as
Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer, I love it. Yes, I love it. Joey Porter going on the bus.
Oh,
Yes.
That was good. Yeah, that's a good one.
Senior is one of my favorite Steelers of all time.
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
Joey Porter Senior.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
I'm curious if you guys are as worried about this as I am, because I don't use the word worried a lot when it comes, but this is an incredibly good Ravens run defense. I mean, like not just this year, but if you compare it to like even the last couple of years in the NFL, it's a very, very good run defense. We'll start with Bob, and then we'll go nice and clockwise. Bob, how do you think our running game with a could be hampered Najee is going to play against this team?
I don't think he's any more hampered than he's been all season. So I'm not worried about that. I'm a little worried about Jalen. I'm worried they're going to run the ball too much early. I think they need to come out throwing. The Ravens defense is bad at defending the pass. They are good at defending the run. They're not great. They're top 5 in the NFL. They're very good, but they get up on teams 10-0, 14-0, 17, and all of a sudden they ain't running the ball. So I'll take that with a little grain of salt. I do think we'll get physical. We've had success running the ball on the Ravens, especially the last couple of years. But I think this particular game, you have got to beat the Ravens in the air, and then maybe you could run it a little later on and put it in the tank.
I like that thought, Bob, about throwing early and trying to get them off their game, because this is going to be tough. I just looked down. The Ravens have given up the second least rushing yards in the league. This is a kind of a bad matchup for the Steelers, right? You'd rather see a team that's not so good against the run and better against the pass. I'm nervous. I'm worried. We're going to find out how good Russell Wilson really is in this game. We're going to find out how far he's come, because he's going to have to carry them at times.
Yeah, for me, so their defense is Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to passing and rushing. Okay, they are.
Comparison.
Yeah, they're really good at stopping the run, but they're last in passing yards per game. They've given up 294.9 yards per game is what they're averaging. So they're giving up a ton. So Bob is right. I agree with Bob. Like, Russell Wilson's going to have to throw the ball. But here's the good news. Russell Wilson leads the NFL with a 53.3% completion rate of 20 yards or more per pass.
Really?
And he's attempted 15 plus. He leads the league in completion percentage. That's how good he's done with the deep ball. So guess what? That combination with them not doing so well against the pass, yeah, it's time to let him sling that thing. And go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's an interesting stat, Dave, because you know who's given up the most 20-yard plus passing plays in the NFL?
The Ravens.
There you go.
Right. So to me,
That's true.
that's a perfect combination for the game plan for the Steelers. Don't get me wrong, you still got to run the ball, of course, but Bob's right. They got to focus on throwing the ball here. Could Mike Williams go out there and be the number 2, or they just get him in more than their last game? I don't know. I don't know if that'd be the ideal way to go or not, but they got to throw the ball, and they got to throw it a lot, because that seems to be the weakness.
Definitely. That's definitely true. Now, as far as the turnover battle, before we jump into defense, how do you, I was really, really impressed that we won a game where we didn't win a turnover battle. because I didn't really trust our I've been talking, if margin of error was I would get $1 for it, I'd be rich at this point, because I've said it a lot in those podcasts. I didn't trust our margin of error to be able to stand up to that. Do you guys think that we can do it again? If we lose the turnover battle against these Ravens, are we going to win this game?
I highly doubt it. With this against this offense, you're asking to get lucky 2 weeks in a row. I don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
Be careful with the football. Don't turn the ball over. That's got to be rule number one.
Yeah, because we're +9 turnover ratio and they're +4. They're right there.
Yeah.
They're not that far behind us. So both teams have done an exceptionally good job of taking care of the football and not giving up as much.
You don't want to give the Ravens extra possessions. That's just a recipe for disaster.
I definitely wouldn't take risks with stuff. There's no.
Yeah.
No fake punts at the 20 this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start
Please.
there.
You know what I do want to see, because if we're talking about a little gadgety, this is the week you roll the Justin Fields package out. As far as I'm concerned, if there is a package, roll the Justin Fields package
Arthur
out.
Smith said there was a package that they just haven't got a chance to use it yet.
I don't disagree with him at all on that either.
Yep, I think didn't someone say, I don't know who it is, but hopefully you guys know, didn't someone like hint at it like, oh, maybe we'll see it this Sunday? I saw Steelers Now wrote an article about that. I just didn't get a chance to look into specifically, but they've hinted that, and I agree. I like that. Do you think it would work as well as we're all hoping it would, or that they'll just roll it out?
Well, here's the thing I'll say about it is I think Washington kind of showed how you can at least try to play the Steelers, and it was pretty effective till the last 10 minutes of the game. You play press man coverage, and you shadow a safety over the top of George Pickens, because they don't have anybody else who can beat it. Not that Mike Williams is great. Calvin Austin, yeah, maybe if he gets loose, but press man coverage, and Marlon Humphreys, he's one of those guys I really don't like. He's arrogant. He played press coverage with no help on Pickens, and Kenny Pickett won the game for us with that pass over the top on Pickens. If they do that again, I think they're just arrogant to come up and play press coverage again, thinking we'll stop them. Throw Justin Fields in the game, let them turn their backs, and let's run the ball down the field with you.
I think the Fields package is going to get used either this game against the Eagles or against the Chiefs. That's my prediction when they're going to bust this out. That's my prediction.
They're going to use it this week.
I would like
willing
to think
bet
they would. I hope they do. But my prediction is
Tomlin pull all out of the stops. He's going to go for it. Arthur Smith had hinted it. He said they had it in the package last week and they just didn't get around to using it. They were saving it. They were saving it for this week.
Yeah, undefined. I agree with you on this one. I do like to see Darnell Washington catch passes. Running after the catch over the middle, a little scary.
Yeah.
Well, Arthur Smith here and there has taken a let's throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks approach every once in a while. And I'd like him to take that approach with the wide receivers that aren't named George Pickens this week early. Just rotation. Start throwing guys out. See where your mismatch is. This is not a good Ravens secondary. You're going to find a mismatch somewhere and find out which guy they cannot cover that isn't George Pickens and focus on him until they pull someone off, and then you focus on Pickens. That's where this kind of assortment of X factors that are consistently inconsistent might have that kind of an impact, because I don't know if they're outside of Pickens and Williams to some extent. I don't think they know who to prepare for in that receivers room.
Well, their corners aren't bad, though. Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey are pretty good. It's the safeties that are trash.
Also, Hamilton's ankle, he was limited in practice again today. And Arthur Moulette got added as well with his calf. That's new. He just hurt his calf today.
Okay. Yeah, even with Kyle Hamilton, I agree with what you said, Bob. It's difficult. But on the flip side, the strength of our team and the highest paid defense in the NFL. I want to start out with tight ends, because as far as it looks, we're going to be facing both Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. But for the first time in a long time when we're going against the Ravens, I'm not as worried as I was. Mark Andrews is always a danger, but if we were ever built to match up against a set of good tight ends, it's this linebacker group. Dave, we'll start with you and go go clockwise. Do you agree with that we're better set up, or are you still worried about that tight end matchup?
It's a tough matchup still, but we do have better linebacker core, off-ball linebackers to try to keep up with them. And B. Bishop's gotten better as well. So, whether they go to zone or I think we are better suited this year than the past years to deal with this, but they're still really good. I to have both likely the way he's been playing this season as well, it's still going to be tough because there's so many weapons you got to worry about. You can only do so much. You're going to give up something to somebody, and it's going to be probably one of those tight ends is probably going to have a big game.
Yeah, I disagree that this is a good matchup for us. Number one, because Patrick Queen is going to be shadowing Lamar Jackson, so you're taking him out of the mix right away. Then you've got the other linebacker who is either going to be a Landon Roberts or Peyton Wilson. I think Wilson can match up okay as far as speed and shadow them, but these are big guys. I mean, these are really big guys, and Wilson is a little bit smaller. So I don't know that I love that matchup. And now if you're trying to draw Minka down into it, or Elliott down into those tight ends, it takes away from giving help on Zay Flowers. So I don't love this matchup with our linebackers.
Yeah, they can hurt you in so many ways, right? It's not just the tight end you got to worry about; it's the wide receivers. It's
right.
Derrick Henry. It all plays in together. And the Steelers don't usually do well against tight ends historically, but this is why they got Patrick Queen, right? That's why they paid him the money. I know he's supposed to shadow Lamar, but he may have to cover, and somebody else might have to, shadow Lamar because who's going to cover these tight ends? Like Bob said, this is a Cam Sutton game where he ends up shadowing one of these tight ends and tries to take him away.
Do you guys think that he's a rookie, but do you think Peyton Wilson is a better suited to cover someone than a Landon Roberts? Do you think maybe we see more of him? Okay.
I think we're going to see a lot of Landon Roberts.
And that's the problem because Landon Roberts, you need him to stop Henry.
Right.
So it's like,
there you go.
So it's like,
there you go.
It's like a double-edged sword. Which one you going to want to have out there more? So it's tough, man. Like I said, one of those tight ends is going to have a good game.
Oh, it's going to be a test for Terrell Austin. Oh, yeah. Let's jump to the question before we do it. What's the question, Bob?
Yeah. So Undefined asked, why don't our wide receivers ever run stop routes or go routes, or I'm sorry, zig routes? They normally just run up the field for a catch. I understand what you're saying. So, the zig routes that Kansas City loves with the cut, the fake in on the slant, cut back out.
Arthur Smith, right?
It's not
a schematic thing with Arthur Smith.
Yeah, it's not his that's not his thing. And I love it. I think it'd be effective, but
with Russell Wilson, it's very effective.
It is. Oh, and I can't believe we haven't talked with the second Patrick Queen came up because Jennifer, this is a great point. Patrick Queen specifically waited until Ravens week.
He did.
To let that little nugget out that they didn't want to back and all that. So he is going to be playing like a man on fire. And I think I was telling Dave earlier that he feels like he's a guy who can inspire the rest of the defense to play with their hair on fire too. I really like that. So I think if it's going to get back to that kind of a rivalry, Patrick Queen's going to be a big, big part of it. I can see him being the hype up guy in the huddle before the game.
All this shit he took. Jennifer. All this shit he took from all those players on the Ravens saying, how could you do this? All the shit they gave him. And it's like, dude, it's your own fucking fault. Now we find this out how many weeks later? So, it's get your popcorn ready. I could see him definitely.
This is what I'm talking about. This game's going to be exciting. This is going to be big time.
And
I'm not.
Thanks to Bob, I'm not going to be able to sleep now.
Yeah.
Shit.
Don't you think it would be an epic troll for Baltimore to go, hey, Patrick, yeah, we didn't want you back because we wanted Derrick Henry. Good luck stopping him on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good point to make as he's running Patrick Queen over.
And that brings up the next thing on that because there's so much to talk about. We are just now getting to Derrick Henry, who is the number one rusher in the NFL. So we'll start with Dave. We're going to go reverse this time. How do you feel about our? We have a good rush defense. We have a good front seven. This is Derrick Henry, and this is Derrick Henry. So how you feel?
And the thing is, lately we've been struggling against the run. I mean, Eckler only had 44 yards last week, but it was in crucial moments they choked. and before that, Tracy and Bryce
Oh
Hall
yeah,
and
I
those
forgot about
guys,
that.
they
That
all
Giants
had
game.
really good games against the Steelers' rush defense. And Derrick Henry, 11-20 in yards, which is first. Got 12 TDs. That's first in the NFL. Yards per carry, he's averaging 6.1, which is, guess what, first. He's gotten 184 carries, which is also first in the league. They're feeding the fuck out of him, and it's going really well. So they really are going to have to do what they got to do to stop him. And that's why I brought up the whole Elandon Roberts, Peyton Wilson thing, because it's a double-edged sword. It really is. And it's going to be tough to do. So it's a big worry, very big worry.
The only good news is I think it's faced the Steelers 3 times. First time he less than 25 yards and 75 in the other 2 games.
75. Yep.
But now it's a different wrinkle because you could really prep for Henry in Tennessee because you knew if they did throw the ball, okay, we'd rather you throw it. With Lamar in that RPO game, I am a little worried this will be the game they both figure it out. But I do think the defense is so bad in Baltimore that these guys can go off. And I've a little preview. If we give up 27 points, 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals, but we just go up and down the field with them, then I think the defense will have done its job. I think we're going to be looking at that at the end of this game as it's not that we didn't let them score. It's that we held them to field goals just enough times for us to score touchdowns and win.
You guys have heard me before. Derrick Henry was the single best free agent signing of the whole. I keep beating this to death, but it's true. He's taken this offense to another level. When Derrick Henry is by himself and Lamar Jackson's by himself, that's one thing. It's frightening. But when they're together as a duo, it's terrifying. And the biggest problem is he wears you down. He hits those big runs in the fourth quarter when everyone else is tired and run down, and he's just starting to get going. This offense scares the daylights out of me.
And they paired him with that O-line. Those are some big boys. That O-line,
yeah, and that fullback that they have that used to be an offensive lineman too. His name escapes me right now, but
that's what I'm saying.
Ricard or Picard.
Ricard. This is. I hope Mike Tomlin's got something up his sleeve for this because this is going to be their biggest test by far.
Oh, it is. This is going to be a game of attrition where both teams are going to be exhausted by that time that fourth quarter starts, and it's just who has more gas to make it till the end. That's why it kind of feels a little more like the classic Ravens. Can we get Spillane back? Didn't he hurt his shoulder on that one? Didn't he have to go out right after he made that tackle?
He's lucky to be alive after that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But Derrick Henry didn't go anywhere.
Hey, I speculated maybe to get Cole Holcomb back, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
I was hoping after the bye week maybe we see something with him, but nope.
I don't know where he would fit. I honestly don't.
Yeah,
he might be a pretty good candidate to cover tight ends, but
the rough first game back to say, hey, welcome back from a brutal knee injury. There's Derrick Henry.
Yeah. That's another thing.
Yeah.
You certainly don't want this your first game back.
Yeah, good luck out there, kid.
Go get him, kid.
Now, while we are, you can't ever, lately people are saying in the chat, they're absolutely true. You have 2 guys here that you can't stop. You just have to contain. So what does containing Lamar Jackson look like to you guys? Because Jade Daniels is a rookie, but a lot of people were talking about how he'd run against us. We were very proud of the fact that we held him to 5 yards rushing. Yep. It was negligible. What does contain mean here? We'll jump to Dave to start out, and then we'll go to Bob and David. What do we need to do to contain Lamar Jackson in this game?
Oh, Jesus! If I knew that, I'd be at DC somewhere. But they're going to play a lot of zone. I have a feeling
they're happy with.
Yeah, they're going to play a lot of zone. Try to keep their eyes on him. Not turn your back to him. I think that blitz rate's going to go away. You're not going to blitz.
No.
And try to play man, and you lose track of Lamar Jackson, and he's 50 yards downfield on you. You're going to play conservative, right? Just try to keep him contained. Keep your rush lanes so he doesn't get outside, and hope for the best, right?
Yeah, you almost wonder if Terrell Austin is just sitting in the locker room.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
I mean,
Pat him down for glue sticks before he goes out in the field because he might need a couple.
yeah. I mean, he's got his work cut out for him. I mean, the Steelers usually have a pretty good plan. I think John brought up in the chat before the go zero blitz. It might have been Gary too. Zero blitz. Brian Flores showed the way, but that's not the Steelers style. Would I love to see him do it a couple of times in the game? Yeah, in spots. But the Steelers have a very effective plan, and they did it with Daniels last week. Although they used to spy on Daniels a little more than they do in Lamar. Disciplined rush.
Yeah.
Hem him in, and then just kind of converge on him. This is where I think we'll really miss Alex here because he's very disciplined. Nick Herbig is so fast. I could see him making a couple spectacular plays on Lamar Jackson and also giving up a couple of spectacular plays. It'll be
How dare
interesting.
you, Hall of Famer Nick Herbig? Don't put that on his name.
I said he was going to play good. I didn't want to trade him for Jameson Williams or anything.
Yeah. Oh, we're good. Wow. It took I was trying to figure out a lot.
I would have done it.
Yeah, honestly, I think as far as that subject goes, an important name is going to be Preston Smith. I think that veteran responsibility and the edge. He's not Alex Highsmith. Alex Highsmith is an elite run stopper. But Preston Smith, I think, is going to be used. Oh, goodness. No, you calm down. We're not getting back into that. Goodness gracious.
We just had to throw it up there real
9
quick.
hours. Yeah, so I think Preston Smith's going to be really, really important because I don't think we're going to have to rely on Nick Herbig to be a run stopper like we did the last time Alex was out and Nick had to start. Preston Smith being here is important, and I genuinely feel that's going to be a big part of it. But as far as the secondary goes, we'll start with David here. Do you think they're going to pick on our secondary? And if they do,
I didn't get to talk about the first.
No, you didn't. I'm just cutting people off.
So it's okay. That's why I said something. So I think another big deal here is our D line. They're going to have to maintain their gap integrity along with the linebackers too. Don't give him a big hole to take off. You'll see a lot of Cam and Ogunjobi, like they're trying to rush, but you're also going to watch them not commit too much to one side or the other, to where it opens up this huge lane where he can just take off. So you're going to see them also maintain that gap integrity, staying in their gap to make sure they don't open it up wide for Lamar to just take off. That's what you're going to have to also pay attention to too. And as far as them picking on our secondary, that's what you're asking?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, look, JPJ has had a ton of fucking penalties. What else? Dante Jackson's not 100%. So right there, your two starting corners, one's not doing well, one's kind of hurt. So they're going to test that secondary. There's no doubt in my mind. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about that.
You should be very
Robbie,
worried.
you
about
worried?
it.
Yeah. Well, I was being sarcastic.
Yeah,
I'm very worried. Not a little, but yeah.
The matchup that the tight ends are the thing that concern me the most. Not really excited about the idea of when Deontay Johnson is on the field that Beanie Bishop could get matched up on Bateman. He's been playing more of the slot. Beanie on Deontay, I'm not as concerned about, but Beanie on Bateman. Bateman has been playing very well this year. That's not a matchup I want to see. I think Zay Flowers, because Joey's a little bit bigger than him, he might be able to get away a little bit more with the physical, but he's not going to be. If he goes to grabbing Flowers, number one, Flowers can get away from him. And number two, I think you start jerking on the guy who's coming away from you. You see the jersey and all that. If it's body down the sideline, I think he gets away with it. If it's anything over the middle slant where he gets beat and reaches out, it's going to be a long day for Joey Porter.
Zay Flowers is a bad matchup for almost anybody. Maybe Dante Jackson, but like we brought up earlier, you put him in the slot against Beanie Bishop, that's a nightmare. That's just a nightmare. And I think he's a terrible matchup with Joey Porter Jr. too. It's not good either. That's why I think you're going to see a lot of zone. They're going to see a lot of zone. They're going to give him the underneath stuff, try to keep from beating deep, and like maybe you brought up earlier, just hope for field goals.
Yeah,
try to keep him the three, play in the red zone, and call it a day. This is the best Ravens offense they've ever had, right?
Yep.
Like ever.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Justin
Ever-
Tucker
Can't
is
bring up any
having
of
a
the Joe
bad
Flacco
year.
years.
Ever.
Huh?
I'm not ready to go there, but
What they've been
That's
terrible in offense most of their not terrible, but they haven't been
well, in the
great.
Lamar era, we'll say yes.
Even
Yeah.
what was before Joe Flacco?
Even Joe,
They
The
were
year
good
they
with
won
Joe
the
Flacco.
the year they
was
won the Super Bowl was pretty
weird.
good.
Yeah, that
but
defense won the Super Bowl.
it was a playoff run. I don't
That's
remember
true.
him doing good that year. The
Joe
playoff
Well,
run
Flacco was the pass interference guy. Throw it up for grabs, hope for pass interference. That was their whole offense.
Wait a second. Is that the year they fired their offensive coordinator and that's when they took off?
no, well, hold on. Flacco, just to be fair, that year where they beat the 49ers, he had the best postseason of any quarterback ever,
Okay.
as far as from a rating standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. I still think this offense is
Maybe-
better.
Maybe as a whole, Dave, you're probably right. Like as a supporting cast besides the quarterback, yeah, you're probably right. When I think about it now, yeah. You're probably right. Both tight
Yeah,
ends, two wide receivers now. The running back is the best in the league. Like I'm trying to think back then. Yeah, you might be right.
2000, yeah, the 2000 Ravens, undefined is thinking of the Shannon Sharp years. Yeah, those offenses were terrible.
No,
I mean,
the one
what?
that the 2000 Ravens offense was that Trent Dilfer?
Trent Dilfer, yeah.
Oh, that
Tony
year,
Banks.
yeah, that was. Now you want to talk about defense, Dave? That was
Yeah.
that was
that was
defense.
for sure.
Yeah, that was defense.
Well, something I did want to bring up, and this is good. I was hoping we were going to have enough time at the end to at least touch on this because we're talking about the secondary, we're talking about guys being picked on, and when I was thinking about how to stop Derrick Henry, a big thing that popped up in my head, I'm like, oh well, if we need to bring Minka up, we can bring Minka up, and then I started seeing what Derek DB was posting on Twitter about what Minka was doing and why, even though he wasn't making the big splash plays and turnovers, he was still as valuable this year as he has been in years past. And I decided to look into that. And I'll do my little spiel and then we'll go around and see how everyone thinks about this because I feel like a big reason we're going to win this game is because Minka has turned his game into this incredibly ultra responsible, focused single high safety. I watched the Commanders game. Other than I want to say 7 or 8 plays, it was Minka single high safety. And even if he wasn't up there, he dropped back into single high safety. And we did not allow a single long play down the field where Minka had a chance to be responsible for it. There were 2 missed tackles that he should have had, which I absolutely say as though there's things there, but we are the best team in the NFL at not allowing long plays down the field in the passing game. And I believe a reason is because Minka's earning his money by shutting down elite plays rather than making them. So that's how I felt about it, which is why I feel Minka's going to be that impactful by being the single high safety. How do you guys feel about Minka? Do you think he's as impactful? I know there's a lot of us who might not think he's worth the money. We'll start with Dave and go around because I know Dave has a lot to say on this too.
Well, I suppose he is still a valuable player. There's no one's going to doubt that. Is that the best way to get the most out of your best defensive back is just to be a center fielder? I guess my argument isn't so much with Minka as with the Steelers and how they're using them. I mean, my man hasn't had an interception since 2022. He hasn't had a pass, a forced fumble or a fumble recovery. Those are impactful plays. In 2000, I think it was 2022, he had 6 interceptions and a forced fumble and 95 tackles, and he was a force. That's why he got paid $18 million a year. That's why he's the highest paid safety in the league. And I think the Steelers have neutered him a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think too. Not to mention the fact, and Dave, you brought this up in prep last night. We're paying him $18 million a year. He was the highest paid. Now he's one of the 2 or 3 highest paid safeties. And yeah, I get the whole center field thing. And I think I go back to what Joe Starkey said on this a few weeks ago. You know, you can't tell me that the last couple of years Minka couldn't make plays because he had to be too involved in the running game and he had to be too involved in coverage with the tight ends. But now he's playing center field, and now he can't make plays because he's in center field. Well, which is it? He couldn't make plays because he wasn't in center field, or he can't make plays because he is in center field?
In this one specifically, I I went back and I wanted to be as unbiased as I could. So I went through once and I watched Minka, but then I went through again and I watched Janie Daniels' head. Every single play, I want to say 98%. The first thing he did up, where's Minka? First thing he does, and he looked at Minka. I want to say and chose and saw he's not going to throw to Minka. Now I want to put a massive disclaimer on this, huge disclaimer, so there was no misunderstanding at all. In no way am I comparing Minka Fitzpatrick to Troy Polamalu. In no way, in no fashion. But when you are a offense and you know that a team is using one player specifically to take away your long game, and he's doing it at the rate Minka is this year, he's the first thing you look for. So they are specifically not throwing to. There are many passes I saw Jay Daniels look up, wanted to take it because the guy had beat the corner, but Minka had the top, so he couldn't take that guy. Where in the past, we've used Minka up close, and they have gotten that pass.
So, Zach, you're telling me that a single high safety look, the quarterback's looking at the safety to see where he's going to go? That's not a Minka thing.
No, I'm saying when he specifically has to know where he's, because he's not throwing at Minka. It's not just where's the single high safety. 39 is not getting thrown at.
He's not throwing at the single high safety. Whichever side he drifts to, you throw to the other side. I mean, I don't think that's anything special that Minka's doing. It's not because, hey, that's Minka Fitzpatrick in center field. It's, hey, I need to watch the center fielder and move him with my eyes so I can go where I want to go with the football.
Yeah, so my thing is this. He's getting paid, I think it's actually like $21.3 million. I think is the actual.
The average, this year, the average is $18 million per.
Yeah, but so that's fucking ridiculous to be getting paid that much money, and we're not seeing anything. The stat sheet is empty as shit. Like there's nothing. There's no tackles for a loss. There's no interceptions, and undefined. He had a good point about the completion rate against him. It's not good. So like to me personally, yeah, he's not doing good enough. An excuse used to be, hey, he's got to be a third linebacker out there. He's not that anymore. He's now out there on the prowl looking for something. That's and true. It's not happening.
What did we hear in the Atlanta game? We can't throw over the middle because of Jesse Bates. We can't throw over the middle because of Jesse Bates is a great center field safety. Jesse Bates has 2 interceptions, 5 passes defended, and 3 forced fumbles this year.
And that's who I referenced
Playing
a while ago when we had this talk, or maybe Zach, it was you and I on TikTok. We had this talk, and it was, dude, the other top safeties in the league, they're producing. They're putting up numbers in every statistical category that a safety should put up. Ours is the only one that's not. And I love Minka. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a good ball player, but man, for the money we're paying, it's just.
And I think it's on the Steelers and the way they're using them.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I'm sorry. You're already you're out there waiting. Like you're put out there. You're no longer a third linebacker. Make a fucking play. Like
but that's the thing. I'm going through. I watched every single defense, like every single play. If I'm being 100% honest, there was no play at all where Minka was even given a chance to make one of those. Even if Minka would have been Troy Polamalu, it wasn't that he didn't. He like messed up a chance to get a takeaway. He's not getting opportunities. They're not throwing anywhere close to where he. And I watched every single play. So
does that tell us
he has to be thrown at?
And that's
just
the other
off
thing.
The top of my head, though, the Quentin Johnston touchdown against in the San Diego game or the Charger game, he beats Porter, who's obviously letting him go. A mistake. He should have ran with him a little bit, but obviously letting him go. And Minka couldn't get over there in time because, number one, Justin Herbert's a franchise quarterback. But number two, Minka is supposed to go there. That was Minka's play. He got beat there. It's not that it's not that he's not a good player. It's just he's not reading anything. He's not we are paying him to go get the ball.
Yeah, not anymore.
Maybe
this tells us all we need to know about this with
the reading things. You're right. He used to read things so well. And
maybe this tells us all we need to know about what the Steelers think about their secondary. Maybe they're paranoid that cornerbacks are not good, and they need Minka Fitzpatrick 30 yards off the line of scrimmage to make sure they don't get beat.
You are actually weirdly correct. What it looked like, the Steelers are so tired of being beat long consistently in their secondary, just like other teams are willing to sell out because I cannot imagine how mad Jets fans must be when they see 4 guys stopping TJ. Even though it stops TJ, like what about everyone else? We are selling out to stop that long thing, and that included sometimes taking Minka out of that. So it is absolutely for that reason. But this could be a huge, massive debate. It comes down to whether you see stopping elite plays at an NFL top rate the same as making interceptions or turnovers. If you don't agree with that, then Minka's not living up to it. If you agree that they're the same thing, then you see him as a top safety. So that's what it comes down to. So
I guess it's
either
working.
way, I'm hoping that he actually turns it on, and by the time we get to the playoffs, we're all talking about, hey, what about Minka's 9 interceptions in those last 8 games?
I don't think we're going to see that. I guess it's working though,
Exactly.
right? They're giving up 16 points a game. That's second best in the league. So,
well, as we always know how to end our wonderful preview games, we're going to start with David, and we're going to work our way around. Predictions are fun. So, what are your predictions for the Steelers and the Ravens first game?
So, it's no secret the Ravens have a high-powered offense. But here's the thing. With Russell Wilson, since he's taken over, the Steelers are averaging 30.3 points a game, which is third best in the league. But they're also averaging now 382.3 yards per game. They're also averaging 230.3 pass yards per game. They're also averaging 152.0 yards per game. Guess what that is in the league? Second in front of the Lions and right behind the Ravens. Yeah, that's how good that offense has been with Russell Wilson. So when I look at this, I just think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I think because I do believe we have a better pass defense compared to theirs, I think we are going to hold them, but not like holding them in a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be we don't bend and break as much as they do. So I think we win 35-30 is what I'm going to go with.
Ooh, game that would be. Okay, Bob.
Okay, so one thing, our defense was designed to put pressure on the quarterback with our front 7 and rushing 4, maybe 5 guys occasionally. We've been okay. There's been injury reasons. TJ hasn't had quite the year that we think he would, but we know why that is, because teams are putting 11 guys to stop him. Now, that being said, the Ravens are actually 4th in the NFL in sacks. So I'm a little bit worried with the offensive line and the matchup on this, but ultimately, I think the highest paid defense in the NFL gives up 27 points again. But the fact that they hold him to 2 field goals, I think Boz is better. I think Justin Tucker also misses one, and we win the game 31-27.
Ooh, he's picking Justin Tucker to miss a field goal. Well, you're in a roll, Bob.
Yeah, he missed an extra point last week.
Yeah, I know he did.
This year, I am absolutely taking Boz
quite been the same.
Tucker.
I don't know where to go with this, guys. I'm really. I'm going to go 31-28 Steelers. I think they win this game because it's in Pittsburgh. There is a world for me where the Steelers get throttled a little bit. It scares me.
Yeah.
But with Minka, the safety net back there, and maybe hold them to a couple field goals, I think they squeak out a 3-point win this week.
I can see it being tied and the Steelers having a last-minute drive to win the game, and we win 27-20.
Okay.
So that's what I will say. So we're all taking the Steelers. I like that. And that's always been the case this season, but we are all on the same page. Leanne is out sick. We send all the best, wonderful, feel better vibes and virtual, flowers and cards and all that. Yeah, we have Undefined. He's picking the Steelers to win. John's picking the Steelers 30-28. So it seems like a lot of us are picking the Steelers. So we're just hoping they can back us up. So do you guys have any closing comments, anything to say before we head into our first divisional game of 2024?
Yeah, don't forget to check out Legendary Picks tomorrow. There may be a new co-king of the picks.
Whatever.
And it ain't me, so don't worry about that.
But
Dave's the peasant of the group.
Purely for entertainment purposes only, of course. But all of us are, still over 500. So, hey, maybe we know what we're
That's not
talking
bad.
about. Tune in.
Exactly, not bad.
I
And
agree.
has anyone gotten an exact score right for the Steelers this year yet?
I don't think so. Dave was
We've
close
been
last week, weren't you?
I was close last
we
week.
were
I
close.
just missed it.
Okay, so we're still waiting for that, and John and Undefined, we're going to remember yours too to see. So, we will see what legendary picks tomorrow, and this starts out the AFC North part of the schedule. So good luck and go Steelers.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.